When you picture working with a librarian in your classroom, what do you picture? You probably picture something like this. A librarian teleports into your classroom to tell your students all of the wonderful resources that the library has to offer. Then they leave, and the students may or may not retain anything that was said during the session. What if I told you that working with a librarian could go so much further than that?
Working with Lisa changed my life.
I've gotten to teach things like, how to pursue curiosity, how to ask questions.
I've come to really admire Moya as not only this librarian who's off doing research workshops, but I really admire her as a teacher.
You might be asking yourself right now, maybe library partnership can go further than just one visit, but what would that even look like? How would it work? I asked a group of experts that exact question. This mix of librarians and faculty are collaborating in new and different ways, thinking creatively about what library partnership can look like.
I got a scholarship of teaching and learning grant from my department to develop a first-year writing course around the theme of labor. And I really wanted the students to get in the archives because I know at Georgia State University, we have the Southern Labor Archives. It's a unique collection to Georgia State. And that's how I met Lisa.
Yeah. You reached out to me via email, I think that summer of 23 to be like, hey, I got this grant. I want to bring the class to the archive. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sounds great. And then it went from there. One of the key things that worked with this collaboration is I said, hey, I need 6 sessions with them. And Shannon said, yeah, okay, that sounds great.
I teach part of class, you teach part of class, but we're always comfortable and confident about jumping in and supporting the other person or adding something.
So they came to all the courses, they provided some of the content, but they really guided the students in terms of what is that information literacy? How do I find things? How do I do thorough searches? How do I recognize what is a good resource versus a not so good resource? Why do these things even matter?
Being made aware that there were other workshops and other kinds of ways to connect and collaborate with library faculty. We actually, for me, having your support with synthesis from a scholarly background, information literacy.
The partnership doesn't end after the classroom visit. Lisa regularly refers her students to me, and the students in their emails will say, LGP told me to reach out to you. So I know that even when I'm not there, she's reinforcing this with the students too.
So librarians can work with you on course design, work individually with students on their research, and serve as a co-teacher in the classroom, among so many other opportunities. But how does working with a librarian impact student learning? What are faculty noticing as some of the benefits of having a librarian in their class?
One of my goals for library partnership in general in the classroom is not just that my students get the advantage of working with an expert on research and getting that librarian expertise, but that they get exposed to the idea of there are different experts and places they should be going on Mason to get the support that they need. So it's an introduction to you as their librarian, but also to get a vibe of the library and to be able to see the library as a really important resource and to demystify librarians in some way.
And so I have students come telling me they were really struggling, but they emailed Moya and they figured out that this is where they could go for more research. And there's a sense of accomplishment and a sense of depth and richness, I think, to the work that they produce for these papers that they would not otherwise have without Moya.
I mean, who hasn't had a student who's had an interest that isn't within your specialty and you want to help them and offer them resources? Well, There's a whole institution for that right across the way.
It's cool for the students because they can see like how important collaboration is to doing something effectively. So in addition to all the other things they're learning, like they can see what it looks like when people collaborate effectively at work.
Partnership with a librarian can help students learn to navigate the information landscape and become more effective researchers. When working with a librarian in a more sustained way, students will benefit from having their expertise and insights throughout the semester, rather than in a single session. But what about other benefits? How are faculty and librarians helping each other in ways that go beyond student learning in one particular course?
It also allows for like cross-pollination across our program because you all are in a bunch of different classes. So if you're going like, oh, here's like this concept from Lisa's class and here this concept from Jen's class, and I can offer those out in classes, that's also an interesting way to like share across our program informally and really organically.
We have in them real library promoters, library cheerleaders, like this is what the library has done for me and this is what the library can do for you.
I have a friend at work that I didn't have before, like a person to talk to, a person to conference with, a person to collaborate on with research.
It feels good and it's fun and I'm learning something new every time and it's creative and
it's all of the fun parts of the job, right?
Yes, it's everything that's fun about teaching that's shared with somebody else.
So far, we've talked about how partnering with a librarian can have positive impacts on student learning, benefits across the curriculum, and result in more collaboration that goes beyond their work in the classroom. If those are the impacts, what do our experts think about what made their partnerships so successful? What advice would they offer someone who is interested in pursuing this type of extended partnership?
Enter the relationship with an open mind, with an opportunity for flexibility, right? Like you're looking for something, right? Be aware of what you're looking for, kind of reflect on that. Maybe see within your course mapping, right? Like, are there opportunities, spaces maybe that you could leave open or leave flexible, some time for another voice that would be to the benefit of your students, that also offers you support?
I think it's because we're both interdisciplinary. I think you and I both come into it with this sense of, I know a piece, but there's a lot of pieces I don't know. And I think that interdisciplinarity piece and the ability, I think that's a piece of why it's easier for us to relinquish control.
And I think that idea of I do not need to control everything in my classroom makes really a lot of partnerships work, right? Because anytime you bring somebody who isn't you into the classroom, you're opening up for lots of unexpected outcomes.
And so I think that's also one of those key things in having a collaborative partnership is recognizing that there's no territories here. Like we're all on the same team doing the same thing for the same end goal.
I think there are lots of times that people treat collaborators from outside of their field or department not as full collaborators or not as full participants in the design and creation of what they're doing. And I think that shows. And then people are like, oh, well, these partnerships are limited. And it's like, well, you set the limits, you didn't give this person the full opportunity to showcase their expertise.
So you ask, what are you looking for in the partnership? It really is a thought partner. It is a true partner. It is not, I want you to, here's a class day and this session is fitting into a larger puzzle. It's, I want somebody who's going to be my partner throughout the entire course.
From multiple visits to the archives, to sustained work one-on-one with students, to helping shape an entire curriculum, librarians and faculty can work together to create and imagine new ways of working together in the classroom and beyond. So the next time you think about inviting a librarian into your classroom, I hope you'll ask yourself, how can I make sure they're more than a guest star?